So we are almost at the end. I'm hoping you are getting inspired and more than inspired. And to close our speakers, the keynotes, we have Bob Chapman. He's coming from US and from a tour he has made in Europe for the full week. And he redefined the way to measure success. He has been redefining it and proving it for the last 20 years. And it's not through maximization of profit. It's measuring how he can impact people's lives. For him, the keywords today are care, courage, and commitment. Please welcome Bob Chapman.
Is my mic on? You hear me?
No.
Do I get Now it's on? So, is the volume kind of high? Can I adjust the volume? It sounds like I'm loud. Am I too loud? Okay. I want to talk to you. Let me get to my first slide. Perfect introduction. The B Corporation was the perfect speech before my speech, because we're now going to take it. We're going to affirm everything you just heard. And the title of my speech is called The Privilege of Leadership. Leadership is not a job. It is a privilege. But it takes courage to care for the people and skills to care for the people. You have the privilege of leading. So let me walk you through this situation. My granddaughter is here, Aiden, in the back row. She's on this world tour of caring because I wanted to give her hope. She graduated about 3 years ago from Aspen High School, where we live, Aspen, Colorado. And when she was walking up to get her diploma, and most kids' parents, when they walked up, were cheering and yelling because of the joy of having their child graduate, I had tears in my eyes as she walked up to get her diploma, because I knew the world we were sending our children into. And let me walk you through that real quickly. 88% of all people feel they work for it. Now, these are U.S. statistics, but we have 3,000 people in Europe. We operate in all major countries. And I would say to you, generally, these statistics, these numbers are applicable to every place we operate. 88% of all people feel they work for an organization that does not care about them. 3 out of 4 people are disengaged in what they are doing. When people complain about the cost of healthcare, I tell CEOs of companies, you are the problem. 74% of all illnesses are chronic. The biggest cause of chronic illness is stress, and the biggest cause of stress is work. There's a 20% increase in heart attacks on Monday mornings. We live in a society in America where we have TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. Get out of this place and drown my pain with a beer. I imagine a world where you have TGIM. Thank goodness it's Monday. Get away from the kids, the spouse, and be in a place where I really enjoy being. Okay, that's my imagination. Jeffrey Pfeiffer at Stanford wrote a book where he quoted us. Jeffrey Pfeiffer, the legendary MBA professor at Stanford, did some analysis, and he estimates that 120,000 people die every year of work-related stress. So his dying for a paycheck does not mean anxious to get it. It means we're unconsciously killing people. The Mayo Clinic, the famous Mayo Clinic in America, told us, which was I never heard before, that the person you report to at work is more important to your health than your family doctor. The way you are treated at work has a greater impact on your health than your family doctor. We read recently that 55% of all people would trust a stranger more than they would trust their boss. 65% of all people would give up a salary increase if they could just fire their boss. Okay, so when you look if you pause a second with these statistics, you can see why I felt some concern to send my daughter out and my granddaughter out into the world of business. Why would I want her to get a job given these statistics? Why would we want our kids to get a job when the statistics are that high? And so it really led me to think about the impact we can make on this society. And so Gallup did a survey of 155 countries for the source of happiness. And they found the number one source of happiness in the world is a good job doing meaningful work with people you enjoy. So what do we deny to 88% of the people in this world? We deny them the one thing everybody wants, which is the source of happiness. Okay, and nobody, I speak in every facet of this is not just a business issue. It is a healthcare issue. It is an education issue. It is a nonprofit issue. It is a military issue. And it's a go. I speak in all forms of our society. I spoke at an Air Force base in America the other day on Suicide Prevention Day. The Air Force shut down the base to talk about suicide prevention. In America today, more young men and women die of suicide than in combat. Okay? I spoke at Brown University to international university presidents. And I said, what's on the mind of university presidents? They said, an epidemic of anguish, which we'll talk about. An epidemic of anguish means that young men and women entering universities today have the highest level of anxiety and depression they have ever had. And the universities do not know how to deal with it. And where are these kids coming from? They're coming from our families. My sense of the issue is that the American family and global families are under a tremendous amount of pressure to try and have a good marriage, to try and raise good kids, and spend 40 hours a week in a place where you don't feel valued. We know for a fact when we send people home not feeling valued, they have greater issues dealing with love and care to the people they deal with at home because they're exhausted. They're demoralized. We know that for a fact. So when I look back on my education, I took management classes, got a management degree, and I got a job in management. So what did I think I was supposed to do? Manage people. Name anybody in your life you can manage. Right? Name anybody in your life that wants to be managed. We have bosses, supervisors, and managers. It is pitiful, the language of business in English. I define the word management to mean the manipulation of others for your success. Leadership is the stewardship of the lives of people who are entrusted to your care. Profound difference than when I was educated. I was view people as objects. That's what I was taught. Nobody said that, but everybody was introduced. That's an engineer. That's a sales executive. Okay? That's a receptionist. That's a production worker. I saw people as objects for my success. Not somebody I was responsible for, but somebody I needed for me to be successful. And we define success as money, power, and position. I was never taught to inspire people. I was taught to manage people. I was never taught to care about the people I'd have the privilege of leading. So, Barry-Wehmiller, really quickly, 1 second. I started in 1975 when my dad died with an $18 million broken company with no money. And today it's a $3 billion global company. Our share price has gone up 15% a year for 25 years. The Walton family that owns Walmart is our largest shareholder. They own 12%. The only reason I tell you that is because we're not a nonprofit organization telling you to be nice. Okay? We've doubled Warren Buffett's performance in that same period of time. So we can create value and care for people. People ask me all the time, how much does it cost to care? And I'd say, how much does it cost not to care? Right? Let's flip that switch. If people are disengaged, and this is not just in business. I speak in education. 71% of all teachers are disengaged. I speak in healthcare. Doctors and nurses cry when I give this speech because they say nobody cares about us. Would you like to send somebody to a hospital and have a caregiver providing care for your child or your family member who doesn't feel cared for themselves? So how do we care for the caregivers? So that's the Barry-Wehmiller. That's where we've learned this journey. So I'm going to walk you through our journey to truly human leadership. We called it people-centric leadership, but Simon Sinek came along and said, he was an anthropologist, he said, no, Bob, this is truly human leadership. This is the way we are called to treat each other. And that's, for my journey, I believe we've been blessed with a model, and the reason we're here sharing it is people started coming into our company and saying, Simon Sinek was the first person, then Bill Urey, the World Peace Negotiator, then Rosh Chazodia, Conscious Capital, and everybody kept saying to me, I've never seen anything like this. You've got to share this with the world. So we're here because we feel we've been blessed with a leadership model that could profoundly heal the world and the pain we're feeling. If we simply learn to care about the people we have the privilege of leading. Washington University sent out 2 professors to interview me a few years ago. And after a 2-hour interview, they said to me, you're the first CEO I've ever interviewed that never talked about your product. And I said, we've been talking about our product for the last 2 hours. It's our people. I won't go to my grave proud of the machinery we built. I will go up to my grave proud of the people who built that machinery. We've got our focus on the wrong place, okay? We need to talk about human value and economic value and harmony, not one at the expense of the other. They're not alternatives. They can be done in harmony, and that's what we've done. So it's about people, purpose, and performance, and it starts with people, because the first responsibility we have is the people that we have the privilege of leading around a purpose that inspires them, and then we have to create value. If you're not creating value, you cannot be good to your people. If you don't provide a reasonable income to your family will struggle. If we don't provide a reasonable income to our investors, our business family will struggle. So this is really a journey from management, which I mentioned is the manipulation of others, to leadership, which is the stewardship of the people whose lives we're entrusted with. From a journey from me, it's all about me, to it's all about us. A world where people genuinely care for each other. So that's the journey I want to take you on. And the key, there were really three defining moments that I tell about that transitioned me through from management to leadership. They were, I call them kind of miracles in my life. My mind opened to situations that I saw an entirely different way of seeing the world. The most significant one, though, people talk about is the wedding story. So I was at a wedding of our friends in Aspen, and my friend was walking his daughter down the aisle. And everybody was oohing and ahhing how cute she looked. When she got to the altar with my friend, he took her hand and said, her mother and I give our daughter to be wed to this young man, and he sat down next to his wife. And my mind, having walked my 2 precious daughters down the aisle, my mind went to an entirely different place. And I said, that's what the father was told to say at the rehearsal last night. But that's not what he wanted to say. What that father wanted to say was, look at young man, her mother and I brought this precious young lady into this world. We've given her all the love and care we can give so she can be who she's intended to be. And we expect you, young man, through this marriage, for you to allow her to continue to be who she's intended to be as she will with you. Do you understand that, young man? That's what every father wants to ask in the wedding ceremony as we give our precious daughter away. All of a sudden, I realized at that ceremony that all 12,000 people that work for us around the world are somebody's precious child. They're not engineers, they're not accountants, they're not receptionists, not production workers, they're not hourly or salary. They're somebody's precious child. And my mind completely changed. I no longer saw people as objects. I saw them as somebody's precious child. And it profoundly changed the way I felt my sense of stewardship to those people, because before that, I saw them as functions. They were engineers. I introduced them as engineers. I introduced them as their skill instead of who they were. So that wedding story profoundly changed. That is the single biggest takeaway people have from my story, is because when you look at the people you have the privilege of leading as somebody's precious child, it profoundly changes the way you view that. So The other key thing that we do is we spend a lot of time on recognition and celebration. We have a world where we spend a lot of time on the brokenness. We spend a lot of time looking for the goodness in our organization, holding it up and saying thank you. And people nominate people for their goodness, and we write a letter to the home of everybody nominated and say your mother, your father, your husband, your wife has been nominated. And it's profoundly meaningful to people to be appreciated for their skill. So that is a key part of our leadership model. What have we learned that I want you to take away? Leadership is the stewardship of the lives entrusted to you. It is not a job. It is a profound responsibility. People want to know who they are and what they do matters, and you have the power to send them home each night feeling they matter so they can be good to their family because they feel valued in your care for 40 hours a week. Listening is the greatest single thing we've learned in this journey. One of our team members, when we started our university, said we have to teach people empathetic listening. I say, why do we have to teach adults to listen? We all know how to listen. But they overrode me and they developed a 3-day class. They implemented it. I didn't know what they were doing. I was up in Minneapolis and a young lady walked up to me and said, Mr. Chapman, I just took your communication skills class at your university. I said, oh really? What was it like? I had no idea. She said, it changed my life. I said, we taught a 3-day class at work and it changed your life. She said, yes, I now know how to raise my 2-year-old child. That opened my mind and my heart till we've tapped into something. So I began interviewing people around the country, and clearly we were making a dramatic impact because people, and they didn't tell us they did a better job in accounting. They said, our marriage is better and my relationship with my kids was better. So I want you to know that the single biggest thing that we do when we create leaders is teach them to listen. It's the greatest act of caring. So, and I think that finally, I want you to understand that the way we lead impacts people's health and the way they go home and treat people. Recognition, celebration, leadership, parenting and leadership is identical. It's just caring for the people in your life, whether they're at work or at home. There's somebody's precious child in your home, and there's somebody's precious child at work. So those are the key things I want you to take away from this, our book. The reason we wrote a book is because people came into our company from around the world. Even Bill Urey, who negotiates world peace for the last 30 years, a senior Harvard professor, he came in and said he saw the answer to world peace. I said, Bill, that's ridiculous. How could you come into a manufacturing company and see the answer to world peace? He said, I saw a place where people genuinely care for each other. That is the world I imagine where we live in peace and harmony in our families, in our communities, in our country, and in the world. And so this is the manifesto of the book. You don't need to read the book. You can just copy that, and you got everything out of the book. That's the manifesto. The first third of the book is my journey from management to leadership, which they felt was important. 2/3 of the book is how do you go do this, okay? And we so that is our journey to truly human leadership, from management, which is the manipulation of people for my success, to truly human leadership, which is the stewardship of the lives entrusted to you. If all organizations embraced the profound impact they make on people's lives, we could profoundly change the world we live in tomorrow. And your kids, my kids, would have a chance to be a part of an organization that cared about them, and they'd spend 40 hours a week being cared for, and they'd go home and be better spouses, better parents, better community. The issue we face in the world today is people don't feel cared for. They feel used and unappreciated. Thank you very much.